Okay, Michael. Last night your dad was teaching.
That's Pastor Terry.
Pastor Terry, call him Grandpa. He was teaching about several times where Jesus feeds the people with fish and bread. And I was just thinking, like, what does it mean? What it only feeds his people with fish and bread? Does it mean anything? What do you think? It's very interesting, so I don't know.
I don't know if there's a supernatural meaning there. Practically, it was near a lake. That lake was teeming with fish. Many of Jesus's followers were fishermen, and so it was a very common food item to have on the menu was fish. Any place you go to that where the people reside along a lake or where they reside along an ocean, seafood tends to be a strong staple in any culture that lives by a body of water. When I was in Wisconsin, I lived near one of the Great Lakes, and we had a river that went through the town and many lakes in Wisconsin, and they had Friday fish fries all the time. I mean, it seems like every Friday, every church in town was having a big old fish fry. And it wasn't just churches. I mean, everybody else was barbecuing fish, grilling fish. I mean, fish was a big thing where I lived in Wisconsin. And so that's the practical explanation. It was along there by the lake, Sea of Galilee, which was lots of fish coming out of that lake. And so it was just a very common food item. In other words, when you go into a place you want to feed people, you want to feed them something that they're used to having, that they're going to enjoy having. You know, you don't want to go over to my parents' house and offer them sushi. You know, that's just not what they do. Where, hey, if you want to go over my house, you might bring some enchiladas and Marie's going to have a great time, you know. You want to bring people what they're used to having. So Jesus fed them one of the common staples of the day. They were used to fish, they were used to bread, it wasn't some strange thing, and they could eat their fill of it and truly enjoy it. How many times did grandma, my grandma Wanda, make pot roast? And nobody ever said, oh, I'm sick of pot roast. Yeah. Well, those people didn't get sick of fish. Just like in Wisconsin, hey, if it's Friday, let's have fish. I mean, they just never got sick of it. They just loved it, ate it all up. So that's the practical explanation. But on a side note, fish is something that was a symbol in the early church because it appears so many times in the life of Christ and in the gospel story. There's so many stories about fish, catching fish. Jesus told his fishermen followers, I will now make you fishers of men. And so fish and fishing was something that became a symbol in the early church of the Christian life and the Christian faith and of following Jesus Christ. And that's why to this very day, 2,000 years later, you'll see the fish on the back of a car, and oh, that person must be a follower of the great fisher of men, Jesus Christ. And of course, bread, Jesus taught us to pray, Father, give us our daily bread. So there's some sort of spiritual aspects to it, but I think in general the story is a practical one. The people enjoyed fish and bread, so Jesus brought them. Just like the Bible tells us, our Father blesses us with every good and perfect gift. He wants us to have joy and to be happy. Now, it doesn't mean our life with Him is always going to be joyful and happy, because we go through problems. Sin has consequences. We live in a sin-cursed earth. But our Father's heart for us is that we should be satisfied and fulfilled and full of joy and have His peace in our life throughout all of our life.
Very good.
I'm glad you were listening to Pastor Terry last night. For all of you out there in YouTube channel land, Pastor Terry preaches on the life of Christ every Sunday evening at 6 o'clock here at Mountain View.